There you go.
Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I have a very special guest for you guys. It's somebody you've been asking for a while now. Terra Ware from the community. You guys have seen him in the comments section. He makes some incredible detailed videos where he literally goes through everything. I just got done watching his Spider-Man video a little bit earlier today, just before this. So we're going to discuss that video. We're going to discuss PC gaming and more. But I'm going to give him a chance to go ahead and tell you where to find him and everything real quick. So go, Tara, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Terra. If you guys seen my channel, I just, you know, kind of review PC games from a performance perspective, like hardware perspective, that sort of thing. Just kind of developing as I go, I guess. But yeah, I try to look at, FSR, DLSS, different things that I find interesting at the time, or if a game is has performance issues. I kinda like that because I get to dive in and kinda dig into it, and the goal of my videos is to essentially engage in conversations, basically. So, yeah.
So, a lot of the people in the comment section, they always refer to your work as very non-biased, that you are able to love and enjoy both of your GPUs without any kind of bias. And I definitely get that from you a lot. When I watch your content, I feel like you are what I want it to be, but I just can't seem to pull myself away from the whole uh Nvidia AMD versus war stuff like that. I think a lot of that has to do with the way I came into PC gaming and just the unrealistic expectations that I came in with. Those are starting to subside. I am getting significantly better at that. But well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know, I mean, the whole bias thing, I mean, I think everybody is biased to some extent, But, I mean, some people are just a bit more tribal than others, and, I yeah, I mean, I went through my phase, like, when I got my 6800 XT and FSR was starting before actually FSR came out, I would sometimes like be like, oh, DLSS is not that big of a deal. And at the time, it wasn't as good, but as it became better, and then AMD released FSR 1.0, then I realized, this is pretty cool technology, and DLSS being good is going to push AMD to make FSR better, which is what we saw. And it just kind of clicked with me that, like, just being trying to be like biased about one company over another, it doesn't really benefit me or you as a consumer in any way. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you want to get the product that's best for you. So that's kind of how I see it. So I always try to keep that in mind. I'm just gonna look at things and then say what I think and kind of show it in my video so that people can see, what I'm trying to show them. That's kind of my approach, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, guys, true fact. I was live streaming Way of the Hunter, and Tara was probably one of the only people in the comments section that told me that AMD was worth giving a shot. And I remember that distinctly because there's a lot of people that were like, "Yeah, man, you got to have it, Nvidia, Nvidia, Nvidia," and um, man, I am glad that I gave AMD a chance. I am because I could have easily just, went completely the opposite way too, but back then in those early days in the channel, I just didn't have as much free time to do things. So it was really hard to sit there and try to, figure out what was going on with Nvidia. So when I did eventually get AMD with the Adrenaline software, that there helped me so much along my path to learning PC gaming. Tara, how do you feel about each platform's operating system, seeing as you have significantly more experience than I do with PC? How would you rate those two in terms of usability for people coming from console to the PC experience?
Yeah, I mean, Adrenaline is definitely more user friendly, and you're now starting to see Nvidia kind of catch up with the Nvidia app. Although it's far from being complete. Adrenaline is pretty much like everything is on there. Whereas on Nvidia, you're still gonna rely on going to the control panel, which at the end of the day, all the features are there on Nvidia as well. They're just a bit harder to find. So I would say Adrenaline. I do like Adrenaline more, and they were the ones to release 120 FPS and 90 FPS recording
Yep.
with the. It was a few months ago.
Mhm.
AMD did it first, and I loved that. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool! I hope Nvidia does the same," and they did.
Yeah.
You can actually capture 120 FPS footage now too. So yeah, I do like that Adrenaline has all these features built in and the overclocking too. But I think at the same time, I think it kind of leads more into like some issues with people because I don't know if you are aware of Ancient Gameplays, the channel. Got I've been following him for like 4 5 years now,
Oh
Fabio.
yeah. Yeah,
And
I follow him too.
yeah, when I got my 5700 XT, because that was like one of my first like higher end AMD GPUs, I guess. And he had some nice guides about undervolting your GPU and overclocking it, which is cool because you can do all that. However, if you're kind of newer to PC gaming, you start messing with those things. Like I have my 7900 XTX, which is a pretty good overclocker, good undervolter. But you could be stable in one game and then not be stable in another, and you get
Yeah.
crashes and stuff like that. So I think sometimes people will mess with those settings because it's so easy and it's good that it is, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it can sometimes leads into crashes, and I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And because yeah, you're right. I mean, there is like this thing, like like you said before, that you had heard that AMD is not stable, you get black screens and
Yeah.
driver issues, and those are grounded in reality. By the way, as a 5700 XT owner, I had no issues, but those were notorious for having issues with other people. And
Oh yeah.
but it's definitely overblown. I mean, obviously, fanboys are going to latch onto anything, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Every
and it's going
single
to get
thing.
overblown because like I used to ask people every time I'd say, "Oh, I traded my 5700 XT for a 2070 Super." That was the talk back then, or whatever. So I try to be like, "Oh yeah, which AMD GPUs have you owned, or this and that?" And it's like a lot of times those people just tucking out their ass.
Yeah.
um,
I just yeah,
but
I
yeah,
mean yeah, I mean I kind of get that whole thing when it comes to like the Nvidia hype and stuff. It's like it's almost like it's like the Apple effect, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, I got an
oh yeah,
Apple iPhone, I'm blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like
it is.
I
Yeah,
get that like Apple, Nvidia, PlayStation, all these are like the number one brands, but they're like I say that like AMD, Xbox, and Android can literally stand on their own. They don't need the same features as the other brand names. They have to
right.
deliver a distinct user experience that's better, or not necessarily better, but just different.
Yeah, just
Just
different.
different.
Like building up on yeah, I mean, it is like, like even with the RX 7000 when they launched, there was a lot of driver issues. It was almost like it was like a
Yeah.
launched in beta, power consumption issues and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And I don't know if you remember my video where I was getting stuttering when recording on my RX 7900 XTX and a
Yeah,
7800
yeah.
X3D.
See,
And I
I
recorded that, and it was weird. Like it would only happen if I was recording using AMD Relive. And it still happens to this day.
yeah.
And I found a fix, by the way, and I'll tell you what it was. And I thought that was
Nice.
maybe just my setup, like maybe just my configuration. And then I built another PC with a Gigabyte B650, something I forget, because I have a 7700X as well. And the same thing was
Yeah.
happening. And what it was what I do now is anytime I restart my computer, if I disable SAM and then re-enable it, it doesn't happen.
Really?
Does that happen to you? Like when you record, do you get this like it's like a weird
Yeah,
stutter. It happens
like
like
while I'm
every
playing the
20
game
seconds.
or in
Yeah.
the yeah. So I
Only when
noticed,
you're recording.
yep, I noticed another thing too. So since I got this monitor, this 34 this widescreen, when
Yeah.
I would play games on the on the 4K OLED, it would I'd get this like frame pacing every once in a
Yeah.
while, like this frame pacing, and it would
Yeah, it's
just
like
be
a tiny
terrible.
little stutter, like a
Yeah.
and
And
if
then
you monitor 1% lows, it'll throw them right to the trash.
yeah, yep.
It just like and that's what that was. So I don't know, like I've been posting about this and
And
I got some people
so
saying that it happens to them too, but
one
it's just weird.
but it doesn't do that on my new monitor.
Yeah, for me it's not even like monitor related really.
It's not.
Like no, because I have a 34-inch ultra wide Alienware. The one I have is the one with the G-Sync Ultimate module in
Okay.
it. So it
Okay.
doesn't have like FreeSync, but AMD works just fine. VRR
Yeah.
still works. And
Yeah.
then I've tried it on my C1 OLED, and I've tried it on another 1440p monitor I have that's got FreeSync and G-Sync capable or whatever it is. And so like I was beginning to think that maybe it's my 7900 XTX, just like that, but I don't think it is that. So it happens to this day, and it was very frustrating. So it's like little weird things like that. So
So
I
just
do I
disabling smart access and then
yeah,
turning it back on.
ju yes, so you turn it off, it takes like 10 seconds, and then you turn it back on, and then that worked for me. So try that
Okay.
if it happens while you're recording. For me, it only happens while I'm recording. But
Okay.
it
Yeah.
kinda
Same.
leads me back to the thing with the NVIDIA, like, the NVIDIA, I would say, is like a more proven, stable platform,
Yeah.
over the years. I think AMD's gotten a lot better. But I mean, AMD is a much smaller company too. Like Nvidia
Oh
is like
yeah.
a
Yeah.
massive software company. So it's like there was like if you asked me like 3, maybe even 4 years ago, I would probably recommend a new user get an Nvidia card
Yeah.
just because it was like you don't want new users to have a difficult time, right?
Right.
Like personally, I like to tinker with stuff, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give AMD a try. Like I had people talking
Yeah.
me down from getting a 5700 XT,
Yeah.
rightfully so, because those had a lot of issues. I said, no, I'm gonna try it because I have Micro Center. Micro Center is great. I think you said
Yeah.
one opened up near you. I love
I
Micro
know. I
Center.
want. I want one to
Um,
open up near me, dude. I'd
oh,
be
I
so
thought I
happy.
thought one opened up near your
No, I think that's on it,
area.
or
No.
somebody else in the comment section. But I
Oh,
haven't.
okay.
We haven't got one yet. I'm hoping they bring one in
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I love Micro Center because I get their warranty for two
I'd be there.
years, and
I'd be
anything
there
happens,
all
I
the
just
time.
bring it back. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I got it and I had no issues, and then RX 6000, I would say that was my favorite. I still love my 6800 XT. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was when AMD basically came and matched Nvidia,
Nvidia. Yeah.
from the
See,
bottom to the top.
if I
You
would
know what
have
I mean?
just got that pre-built instead of getting that laptop, oh man, I could have got a 6800 XT that
I
freaking
think,
day. And
yeah,
I ended
I
up going
think
with
when I
that.
was watching you, you had the laptop already,
Yeah, I
I
was like,
believe. And
that
then you
was
got
that.
the pre-built with a 3060 Ti, which I thought that was actually a pretty
Yeah.
good PC, you know?
Yeah, I don't
Um,
I didn't really hate that one. I mean, it definitely
yeah,
delivered above and beyond the console experience.
that was
Um,
good. Yeah,
but then
because yeah, it was
we started getting those Mixies games like Spider-Man. We started getting like Callisto Protocol and all of them cross-chain games
yeah,
that were starting to like blur the line. That's when I started having
yeah,
problems, and it was just like
yeah.
it was like a stuttery mess all the time. And Callisto Protocol made me mad. That game just wouldn't even
Well,
work. So
yeah,
I was like,
Callisto Protocol is stutter even now on the best of hardware. So I
yeah,
think what was happening, I think like at the time, in retrospect, well, even then, I think like I think you should have probably just stuck with the 3060 Ti
yeah,
until like the 4000 series came out. Because I thought 3060 Ti did a pretty good job. As far as the 3080 though, I think that was that period of time when we were getting a lot of bad PC ports, man. Like
yeah.
a lot of shaded compilation stutters. I mean,
I
Callisto
definitely,
Protocol was
yeah,
notorious for that.
I definitely, in hindsight, put
Yeah,
more of the blame for the 3080 on the bad ports.
it
Especially
is like,
now, after
yeah,
seeing just how well the 40 series is running,
yeah,
compared to the AMD. Like I have very few problems now. Most of the stuff that I run into now is literally nitpick stuff.
yeah.
You
And
know,
that's
and
like, yeah, I do believe that your issues, I personally don't think it was like anything VRAM related because with 10 gigs, there's probably
10.
rare games now that would hit a VRAM issue at 1440p, even with 10 gigs, because like you
Yeah.
were running into similar issues I was running to, right? Like
Yeah.
with Spider-Man, that's a very CPU heavy game too.
Yeah. Yeah. That one
Um,
still struggles on a 7800 X3D.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna hit like 100 and whatever frames per second with ray tracing on top, you know what I mean? So yeah, the
Right.
Nix's games have been rather not just CPU heavy, the ray tracing ones, but especially VRAM heavy too. Like Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima is actually pretty VRAM heavy. I ran into
Notice
VRAM
that.
bottlenecks on my 3080 Ti with 12 gigs,
That is
as I showed
crazy too.
on my video.
And see, that was the kind of stuff that I was running into with that 4070 Super was like it was great and
Yeah,
all, but then like that 12 gigs, like you would get like if my AMD card was over 12 gigs, you know how AMD lets it like just attribute as much freaking VRAM as you got basically on a lot of stuff.
yeah,
It if I noticed that the VRAM was over that 12 gigabyte buffer for that 4070 Super, like if I was using the 7800 XT, I would get like this micro stutter
yeah.
on those
It
games.
can, yeah, determinant VRAM can be a difficult thing because
And
you know,
there's
like
like no
some
real
games,
there's
your
like
frame
no
rate
real
collapses.
way. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's
Like
a difficult way, yeah, because your like Rivatuna statistics server is not going to tell you that you're at 16 gigabytes when you only have 12 available, right? It's going to
yeah,
show maybe 11.5
yeah,
and the rest is going to spill over to your system memory. So that's kind
yeah,
of what I do is I look at system memory too. I will start somewhere where I know I'm not running out of VRAM, and then you'll see it spill over. I actually covered
yeah,
this on my Ghost of Tsushima video of the 3080 Ti. I even showed it as you hit that VRAM bottleneck, performance tanks, and then you see the VRAM actually spilling over to system memory.
yeah.
But that's not all games though. Some games will actually lower texture resolutions automatically. Like what's that
And I
game you like that everybody hates?
Forspoken.
Forspoken. Yeah,
Yeah.
Forspoken.
if
Spoken.
th-
Yeah.
that game on a 12 gig GPU
Yeah.
is not good.
Yeah,
It
remember how the
struggles.
conversation was, "Oh yeah, it looks like crap." But it was
Yeah,
actually
everybody
people using like low VRAM cards, and I'm
yeah,
like, look at it, I'm like, it doesn't look that bad. And then
because I
when
had
Hardware Unboxed looked at it, you know what I mean? Like if you had enough
yeah,
VRAM, it would show the full resolution textures.
because
It
even
was
to this
funny.
day, like the 16 gig GPU, like my 4080 Super, it you can still kind of I still kind of get like the little what's it called, the stuttering that I don't get on the AMD card until I turn on like once I turn on like either the AMD's relive, you know, performance tracking or that, then I start getting stutter with both of them. But
I
it's
see.
still kind of I think that game uses like right around 16 gigs ish.
Yeah, I mean, it's different because oftentimes, most of the time, actually, on AMD, it'll use more VRAM compared to NVIDIA. Like, it can depend. Sometimes it can be quite a bit more, sometimes it can be less. But that's one reason I'm going to probably always keep my 3080 Ti is because
Yeah,
I like to test these things and it's got 12 gigs. So the testing I've
exactly.
done, I've only run into VRAM issues with Ratchet and Clank at 4K if you enable ray tracing, and then Ghost of Tsushima at 4K. It only happens if you cycle DLSS on or off and mess with the settings.
And
It's
then
like
yeah, it's like got
it
a
doesn't
memory leak or
reset the
something.
VRAM buffer. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the VRAM pool just keeps piling on and on. So it is like a coding thing too. I don't think it should be like that. But when I
Yeah.
made that video, I got a lot of comments from people with 3080 Ti's or other 12 gigabyte cards that were saying the same thing. Basically, they were saying actually, even if you were to not change the settings and play for long enough,
It would
they
just
would hit
start
that
piling on.
VRAM. Yeah, exactly.
See,
Now, 16
that's
gigs, I don't think you would have issues at 4K, although it could be just like a runaway effect with some of these games, you know, that just
yeah.
that VRAM leakage and it just piles on and on and on. And then you hit that threshold where performance begins to suffer.
See, I don't
Sometimes it can be really bad performance, or it could just be a bit stuttery, like you said. It's
yeah.
not the same for every game.
I mean, and it really is like a mileage may vary type deal too, you know? Because
Yeah.
I mean, like overall, my PC gaming experience has been pretty positive. I
Hmm.
enjoy it more. I have fluid, you know, much more fluid gameplay. I got better looking visuals on everything I play. Like I think
Yeah.
that once you get into PC gaming, I kind of feel like the community slash, you know, like it's everybody's always trying to find like this reason to be negative about something, and it kind of just bleeds over. I mean, I brought a lot of
Yeah.
this on myself too, you know, obviously, just the way I make content, and because
Oh,
I
don't
do,
do it.
I'm pretty passionate about things, and then when
Yeah,
I'm like in this
I'd
moment
say
and
so.
I make a video and I put it out
Hmm.
there and it just gets completely misconstrued. And then I go back and I watch the video and I'm like, dude, you're dumb. You shouldn't have put that video out. Now these guys are going to come,
Yeah.
they're going to be negative, and then you're going to have to try to make another I'm sorry video. And I don't
Yeah,
know.
it can happen. Yeah.
I mean,
I I
it's,
wouldn't
it would,
I wouldn't be able to do it like you know what I mean? Like I'm not like really a
yeah.
good speaker anyway. Like I would probably try to write things down and try to stay on track because I can get
Oh,
off
man.
track and then like my talking head video would probably end up being like 45 minutes and then I would
Oh,
have to try to edit
gosh.
it down.
Well,
So,
that's the thing, you know. I do everything impromptu and stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, man! Like
yeah.
I swear I'm like all autistic or something, man. I'm just sitting here super explaining everything. I'm mansplaining stuff. No, I don't know. I get pretty passionate
Yeah, I
about
mean and
stuff.
I don't think people are necessarily trying to be negative, although I'm sure there's some that are negative or
I,
the more passionate like fan base, sure, but I think it's just like people just, just being an enthusiast. That's kind of like for me
yeah.
at least, it's kind of what I like to do, just to kind of see the differences. And at the end of the day, it is nitpicky, right? Because you can have
Oh,
an excellent
absolutely.
gameplay
Yeah.
experience on PC with an Nvidia or an AMD GPU. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You're
exactly.
nitpicking over a bit of ghosting here, or maybe, this and that.
You know,
Um,
it's like I
it's
don't even
that's what it
notice.
is.
I honestly don't even notice that. You have to
Yeah.
literally be staring at your character the whole time you're playing to see the ghosting. Because and I tested
It can
this
depend.
just the other day when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, or not Ghost of Tsushima, but Horizon Forbidden West, and it's like when I'm looking at Aloy, I can see the ghosting. When I'm looking in the
Yeah,
distance and like running, I can't see that. You know
I
what I
thought
mean?
FSR actually looked really good on Forbidden West and Ghost of Tsushima. When I remember when I
Yeah,
looked at those and I did those videos, I thought even before I've actually not checked out the 3.1 FSR 3.1 update on those games. I remember looking at FSR 2.2 and they looked great.
yeah, and
I didn't
it
have
looked
any
good.
complaints about them. It was right up there with DLSS from the areas that I looked at anyway.
Yeah,
For
go.
me, it's the flickering is the one thing that annoys me personally, and it stands out because it makes things kind of look a bit alias. And
Yeah.
like I said, on Horizon Forbidden West, I did not notice any flickering with FSR.
See,
Really, nothing unusual.
I only notice the flickering nowadays because it's been pointed out to me so much by
Yeah,
like Digital Foundry and everybody that now it's like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, wait, what did I do before I found out about flickering? Like, how did I enjoy my
yeah,
games
yeah,
before I found out about all this flickering and smudgy and this and that? And I'm like, and then I just look back and I think, I mean, man, I've been playing video games since they were on like 480p.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure,
And it never bugged
sure.
me then. It looked incredible. And I was a console gamer. And I'm like
Hmm.
and I'm like now looking at PC gaming with the incredible visuals that I have now. And I'm like, wow, these guys are some of the most picky, snobby, freaking crying babies in the PC community I've ever seen. It's like, gosh, any console gamer would probably be drooling over themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think you sometimes kind of let it get to you. Um,
Oh, I do.
I think it's like if you like something, who cares what anybody says, right?
Yeah.
Um, I do feel personally that Digital Foundry does pretty good work, and I think they've been responsible for a lot of things being addressed, like the PC stuttering, for example. Like Alex, like he made that video where he ranted about
The
how
stutter
how bad of a
struggle.
state PC gaming was in, you know what I mean? And then I
Yeah.
believe we started to see more shader compilation steps and that sort of thing. I think if you really like something, it's okay to be critical about it,
Yeah.
if it's deserved.
I think I
Um,
just came
you
into
know,
PC gaming
it
at like
just
the perfect time though. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like even
yeah. I
Ubisoft
mean,
games run good now.
oh, for any crap people give Ubisoft, their PC ports are excellent. You
Yeah,
know,
they're
like
at
I've never
least
had an
for now
Ubisoft
they
game
are.
that came out with recently. They
Yeah.
always run great. There's no stutters. There's nothing like that. They have plenty of options.
Oh
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
was well
I'm pretty
no,
happy with.
Skull and Bones, that's broken when you get in those
Yeah,
hubs, but when
yeah,
you're on the boats, absolutely incredible.
yeah, but that's kind of like a black sheep.
Yeah,
that
the black sheep of
that
the
yeah,
Ubisoft game. Yeah, I mean
interesting.
even Avatar was running pretty good on
Avatar
both
was great. Yeah,
GPUs. Yeah, I was like, oh,
Avatar was great.
nice.
That was one game where DLSS actually had a lot of ghosting.
Yeah,
I remember digging into it. I made a video about it actually, and they had the latest version of DLSS, and it had ghosting only if you stood still. If you stood
yeah.
still, you see all the leaves, because it's a very atmospheric
Hmm.
game, and there's leaves falling around and environmental effects and
Yeah,
that sort
you'd
of thing.
see
And
like
it was very distracting. But if you moved, it was okay. And what it was if you downgraded DLSS to DLSS 2.7, I think that was the latest DLSS 2, the ghosting went away. It was like the
wow.
craziest thing. But that was where it was pretty aggressive. So it all depends, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and that's
that,
that's just the thing that I try to like show people the most is like, look, guys, neither one of these are absolutely perfect. It's it's
right.
more of like it's more of like some games are going to be absolutely undeniably better on DLSS. Some games are going to be
Yeah.
absolutely undeniably better on FSR and or XESS. And it's like these
Mhm.
upscalers are options. The reason why I do give FSR more of like a benefit of the doubt is because it is open source and you can use this on any
Yeah.
GPU you own, basically. So it's like you guys, you would think you would want FSR to be better, but how much
Yeah.
better can FSR get with it being software based versus hardware accelerated? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I
Like,
I don't know. That's kind of the talk, and we're not technical enough to know that how much more it can improve. But I
so it's
do
like,
think these technologies are very important. They're very, very popular too. I mean,
yeah.
people use these all the time. I mean, I have a 4090, and I'll even use it on my ultra wide 1440p monitor sometimes if it
Oh,
looks
wow.
good, which it usually does. And like I'm actually gonna make a video about this, but I'm not like I make videos benchmarking things and overclocking things. When I play, I usually lock my frame rate. Like if it's a single
Yeah.
player game, I'm perfectly happy with 90 FPS, which
Yep.
the
That's
4090
that's
can do that no problem, but I can turn on DLSS as well because it looks
mhm.
so good and then cap the frame rate at 90 and my GPU is pulling like 150 watts or 200. Like
Oh yeah.
I like efficiency. That was one thing I loved about the RX 6000 series, like my
Was
6800
they were
XT.
more efficient.
Oh yeah, a
Definitely more
lot like
efficient than
way more
the
efficient than
Ampere. That's
3000.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Like when I make comparisons, 1600 XT and 3080 Ti, which for intents and purpose, it's pretty much a 7800 XT and a 4070 Super,
Yeah.
basically. But like the 3080 Ti is pulling like 460 watts, and the 1600 XT is pulling like 300 watts.
Yeah.
Like that's really good. Like I like efficiency because it's not just heat, but it's noise and everything. It's not
Oh
just
yeah.
about the cost, but I hate like the noise and the heat personally.
Yeah.
And that's
We're
why I love the
definitely getting.
7800 X3D as well, by the way. It's a
Mhm.
very efficient CPU, man.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It's
very
I
efficient.
haven't I was like, wow, my difference in 1% lows from switching to 7800 X3D has been like,
Yeah.
wow, noticeable. I mean, noticeable enough to where I'm
Mhm.
like, that's good because I would feel like, the stuttering before, but now it's like, and I have a very high tolerance coming from console over to PC. I have a pretty high tolerance for that kind of
Yeah.
stuff already, but now it's just like, wow, this is even smoother than it was before. And see,
Yeah.
I don't really mind paying, the extra money for like the higher end GPUs for all of that stuff. It's just I don't like feeling like I the one thing is I when I buy a product and it doesn't deliver that like amazing experience that everybody hypes me up to believe, that's when I start to get a little bit negative towards it. Is because like, wait a minute, man, like this kind of sucks, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't know. I just don't feel like Nvidia deserves the hype that it receives at the expense
Yeah.
of AMD.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, yeah, it's like you said though, it's like they're like the Apple of, I mean, like if you think about it, right? Like Nvidia keep the PC gaming technology moving forward, right? They were the ones to bring
right,
ray tracing and DLSS and frame generation. And AMD usually plays catch up with like delivering something that's not really up to par, but then it gets better, which is
yeah,
fine. But like you said, it's like that brand recognition that's been established over time, that prestige. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That
for
definitely
sure,
plays into Nvidia's popularity, which has been established by the products that they deliver.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I think there's unfair like discourse against AMD. Yeah, I would say so. Sure. I mean, it definitely happens. It happens the other way around as well.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've
but
been
yeah,
trying to like come away from the whole because there was a time in this channel when I was just to the point where I was like, yeah, let's just do the fanboy war stuff, and then I was like, no, dude, I
yeah,
don't like the way this makes me feel. I don't like feeling anxious and
yeah. You're
angry and
like
negative all the
fueling
time.
fueling toxicity at that point
Yeah,
because
and I
you're
was like,
like pitting
oh,
people against one another, which are already scouring the web trying to find, you
yeah,
know what I mean, like that
gosh,
dosage, that fix that they made the right purchase or whatever it is, like their
oh
tribalistic
yeah,
nature. Like I said, some people are more tribalistic than others. Like I think from what I've kind of observed, it's like you're definitely more tribal than I am, but I think you also have like
oh yeah,
this thing where you want to root for the underdog. Like I remember when you said you were a PlayStation 3 fanboy. That was when Xbox 360 was at the top, right?
yeah,
You were kind
that's
of wanted to be
crazy.
with the underdog, and then now with
Yeah,
PlayStation, you became like an Xbox guy, and then now with PC, you like AMD more, and I get
like
it,
I
like,
don't understand
yeah.
why I keep getting drugged toward
Yeah, I
the
mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. But at the end of the
I
day, right, these companies are not our friends. They
yeah,
they
definitely.
have, they're wealthy companies, right? Even though AMD is much smaller than Nvidia, they're still a very successful company. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
With their own marketing teams and everything like that. I think I don't
I
think it's good to give any company any leeway when it comes to when you buy a product,
yeah.
right? Like I get the stuff against Nvidia, their shady practices and
Well, I mean,
like
are they? But see, here's the thing, though. Are they really shady practices?
well, yeah, I mean they try to upsell you on stuff the way they price their GPUs, and then AMD tries to follow suit by pricing their GPUs like $100 less, and then
Yeah,
they don't sell, then they're forced to lower prices because I believe in the free market, right? And
yeah.
I think the market at the end of the day decides the price. Like AMD was doing the same thing with a 7900 XT. They just priced it $100 less than the
I mean,
XTX.
I don't
So it's like,
necessarily. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's like they try to do the whole upselling thing and then people didn't buy it. Then they dropped it to 700 where it made sense. It's like, okay, this is a
Yeah,
great GPU.
that is
So
a
it's
good
like if they
price
were to
for
do
that.
that from the get go, right, they would get
A lot
positive,
more. Hmm.
initial reviews. It would be better for them overall. So it's like
I
that's what I
mean,
say. Like Nvidia likes to do shady things as far as pricing things and how they segment things, and they're also like geniuses when it comes to marketing, right?
yeah.
And it's like they kind of set that shady standard, and then like AMD tries to kind of follow by pricing their stuff a bit lower,
I mean,
but
can
then
you?
they reduce them, and it's like that's kind of what I mean about like some of the stuff that
Yeah.
Nvidia does, right? Um,
Well, I mean, can you
but
really blame AMD though? Like in my experience with the 7900 XT, I'm like, dang, yeah, like it's probably 15% slower than the 4080 Super. And like
yeah,
when I'm playing on them, I can't really tell a big
right.
enough
But
difference.
what I'm saying though is like if you price it just $100 less, right? Someone
Right,
someone who gets
arcade,
the
yeah.
PC game is going to be like, I'll just pay an extra $100 because you're talking about the high end, right? I mean, 7900
Right.
XT is a high end GPU.
Yeah.
You're not talking about people in the low end. People
Yeah.
in the lower mid range. I mean, yeah, I would always recommend AMD, especially with the 4060s and TIs. I
Oh,
haven't even
yeah.
kept up with those. They're not great products.
Yeah,
The
that
TI 16 gigs okay, but
that
I don't know,
128
like
bit bus. I mean, it
yeah,
wasn't horrible on my 7600 XT. I thought that card was actually pretty dang good, for the
yeah,
price. But then,
yeah.
when you get to like 7800 XT territory, that is a more compelling entry point for me in terms of recommending that to somebody that's new to PC. That's a good
Well,
entry
yeah. I
point.
mean,
That
absolutely. I
gives you
mean, you're
that gives
getting
you taste of 4K, and that gives you like
yeah,
a high refresh rates across the other two resolutions.
right. True. Yeah, yeah. No, it's yeah. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, and then you also have the used market too, right? If you
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to
yeah.
really build something that doesn't cost a lot. Like I don't know if you watch Tech His City, but I love some of his videos sometimes because, he'll just try to buy these used parts and then put together like a kick-ass PC for pretty cheap. Like I remember he put a PC together, had a 3070 Ti or something, and a 12600K with like a motherboard from Alibaba or something. It
Yeah.
was like a no-name motherboard, and he built the whole PC for $500, which was the price of a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, and it was much faster than them. I like stuff
Yeah.
like that. So PC, you have that option as well, right?
Right, right.
Obviously, new is better, but you have that option. You can because like you know how the console fanboys are like, oh, I don't want to spend $5,000 on a
Oh
PC,
yeah, those guys.
and it's such nonsense.
Ha!
You don't have to
Yeah.
spend that. I built a high end PC when the 4090 came out. I spent like $3,200 building it myself.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice that building it myself, I was able to get exactly what I want, put it together significantly cheaper than buying like a pre-built. I'm not 100% against pre-builts. I think I am kind of against maybe like the proprietary pre-builts, like the one I bought.
Yeah.
But any
Yeah.
of the other ones that like, Skytech or any of these other guys build for you, I'm not against those. I just did not like the fact that my HP had a proprietary motherboard that
Right.
was unusable on my new build after I got this new case.
Yep.
Yeah, I just stay away from the proprietary stuff, and I think you're
Right.
fine. But
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, if you
100%.
stay away from that, like paying somebody, I wouldn't expect somebody to bring me their, I wouldn't expect somebody to be able to fix their car. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like if there's people
Yeah,
that
no,
can build a
the
PC,
yeah,
let them build your
there's good
PC.
pre-builds. There's good pre
Let them build your PC, get
Yeah,
yourself peace of mind. There's so
absolutely,
many
yeah.
things that you can mess up, bending pins, on the
Yeah,
CPU, like bending pins
yeah, you
on
can.
there's a lot of pins that come on these boards that are exposed that like you start bending stuff over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
you know
broken
what
a
I mean?
couple of them
Like,
myself.
yeah, you get
I've broken pins. I've inserted the RGB plug into like the wrong voltage because some motherboards have different rails. Like I think there's like a 5 volt RGB
yeah,
standard, and then there's another one. And yeah, you can make mistakes, absolutely. But I mean, there's good pre-built companies out there. I think like Build Redux PC, I think they're
yeah.
called. I think they
Uh,
charge like $100 or something over what the parts cost, and they build it for you.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. I think that's very
That's not
fair.
bad. That's
Yeah.
definitely manageable, very fair.
Yeah.
You're spending anywhere from, a couple thousand or, $800 all the way up to a couple $1,000 for parts. Let
Right.
somebody that
Right.
knows what they're doing build that thing for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, them parts can
Yeah.
they can get expensive, but I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I do also find relevance in figuring out and learning how to do it yourself, because then you're not at the mercy of somebody else if you want
Right.
to, make a change or something.
Yep.
And I did the video, swapping out the motherboard and upgrading to the AM5 platform, and got some feedback. Don't do that on the table next time. I'm like, I'm
And
like,
were you supposed to do it on your lap?
yeah, no, I was like,
Yeah.
because instead of using the box, I like use the motherboard box to
Yeah,
prop it
yeah.
up because I was using the plastic bag on the table or whatever. So I was like,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right, whatever. It's
Yeah, I've done
it's
that before.
it's hilarious. I mean, like
Yeah.
I love the PC community. I think we could be a little bit I don't know. This like just like with how many different like ways you could build your PC, there are that many different ways of thinking about how PC should be done. And that's
Well,
it's
that and as many ways to play your games, right? Like I said, I like to lock my frame rate at 90 or something, right? Because I
yeah.
like that consistency. And then I'll use upscaling if it looks good to reduce my power consumption. Another person might want to play. I know someone, a couple of people commented on my channel. They use 4090s playing at 1080p because
Oh
they
wow.
love getting crazy frame rates when they play their Call of Duties or whatever.
Oh
It's all
yeah.
about how you like to play, really. It's not really a set standard,
Yeah, I mean like
that you have to
1080p
follow. It's,
1080p
you
doesn't
know,
look horrible on a native 1080p
no,
screen. Like it looks
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good. I
It'd be
mean,
nice if they released some 1080p OLEDs or something. That'd be
so
cool.
1080p OLED. Well, see, that was my thing. That's why it took me so
Yeah,
long to upgrade my monitor because I didn't know. Do I want to go ultra wide? Because I've done like that on the TV and seen the ultra wide, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh, I don't know about that. But actually having an ultra wide monitor to experience that,
It's
way
good.
better,
Yeah,
way
I like,
better.
yeah. I love my
Oh,
this was my first ultra wide I got, and I bought this thing for, I think it was like 850. This was like only 6 months after these came out, which these were
oh,
going for like 13, 400, $1,400. I got it at Micro Center. It was open box, and it said there's a scratch.
oh
So I was
yeah.
like, oh man, is it going to be on the screen? No, it was just like a little mark on the back that I was able to just wipe out. And I got it for
Nice.
really cheap. And I was like, this looks so good. It has
Oh
1000 nits
yeah,
HDR, um, or 400
exactly.
true black. And it looks great. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Oh yeah,
So
these
display is
these are so
important.
beautiful.
Absolutely. It
I
is
honestly kind
because
of think maybe the display might be a little bit better upgrade than like a new GPU. Depends on your
I think, yeah,
GPU. If you've
I
got
think it's
like if you've
something
got
people
if you've got like
neglect.
a yeah, if you've got like a mid-range from like last generation till now,
Yeah.
maybe a monitor would be a better upgrade for you.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed too, and I think you've said this on your videos, is like when I play on my C1 OLED, even if I run Windows at 1440p, sometimes I'll test games. It looks great. Like whatever the
Yeah.
TV uses, you know what I mean? It just looks great. It looks much better than it would on like an LCD 4K TV
Yeah,
if you ran the game at
absolutely.
1440p. I would
Yeah,
totally
absolutely.
play a game that way, if I had to or if I wanted to. It wouldn't be an issue. So yeah, I think the OLED, and they're going to get cheaper because they're still a bit pricey. They're just going to get cheaper going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah,
Um,
because I
yeah,
think that technology is getting easier and more people are adopting it. And that's kind of
yeah,
like with all new technologies, the more people that adopt it,
everything.
the more that the investment, because it goes from heavy investment into it, and then it starts to work itself out to where it gets
Hmm.
cheaper and stuff. And that's just always kind of been tech. Tech has always
Yeah.
started expensive, and now like you can get, I mean, like when computers first came out, they had like
Oh yeah.
megabytes first for storage, and now they've got freaking literal petabytes storage.
Oh yeah.
That's affordable, and you're like, oh my freaking gosh, man. So yeah, OLED technology's coming down. But one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about, because I think you touched on it a little bit in your video, was I think I'm getting better HDR experience from AMD cards. And that has a
Yeah.
lot to do with how I can adjust things in the Adrenaline software. It's not, and getting into Windows and setting up your HDR right.
Yeah.
Basically, that's just like your little color scale or whatever you make it so your high and your lows,
Mhm.
don't clip each other. But like the overall, man, I like the way Adrenaline gives me better overall control of my colors than what I
Yeah, I
get out of the
mean,
control panel.
yeah, I mean, I know you like your colors, and that's great. I don't mess with them. always like even on my AMD and Nvidia GPUs, I don't touch any of the colors. I just leave them, neutral the way they are, personally. Um, I mean, HDR to me looks the same on both. I did like a quick test before. I took both my computers, my 7900 XTX PC and 4090, and hooked it up to the C1 OLED. And because you can run the same game on Steam if you just
Yeah.
put Steam on one PC on offline mode, and then you can launch the same game at the same time. And I was kind of
Oh,
flicking
really?
between both of them. Yeah, yeah, you can. And I was like, okay, this pretty much looks the same to me. Like to me, it didn't look really any different because it's like a standard thing, you know.
Yeah,
But then
I
again,
think
I'm not fit to test something like that. Maybe what's his name? Gaming Tech.
gaming tech.
He would probably be able to. The German guy
Yeah, yeah,
living in
gaming tech.
Australia. He does HDR
I might
videos.
have him come up
What's his name?
for
Marcus. Marcus.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a
Marcus.
pretty good guy. Um, he's like a good HDR guy that could probably test something like that. But I don't think it's any. Yeah, I mean, I don't like. I just don't see how it could be any different without manually changing colors, basically.
Yeah, so
Um,
I usually these are the
the Vivid
baselines
in
that I
AMD,
do.
I think, is a bit different than the digital vibrance on Nvidia. Yeah,
Yeah,
you are right.
on AMD I just go into the custom color and then I set my
Yeah.
saturation to 150. And then on Nvidia,
Okay.
if I use digital vibrance at 100%, it trashes the image quality. But about
Yeah.
70, maybe give that a try and see if that's, something that would I
Yeah,
think if
like I
you
said,
put
I'm not.
I
Yeah,
think if you put
I've
your
tried the
colors,
Vivid. The presets on
yeah,
Adrenaline. You can choose
yeah,
like Vivid, Custom, or whatever. I've tried that, and it does like kind of to me anyway, like kind of
oversaturate.
oversaturates things a bit. Um,
I say, but I like
yeah,
oversaturated colors.
yeah, that's
Those
fine. Yeah, I
those
mean,
are
it's
my
all about what
favorite.
you like. That's fine. That's what
I
it's all
figure if I'm
about.
gonna play a video game, I kind of want it to look a little video gamey, because
Yeah, I mean, I'm like that's what I'm starting to see with Unreal Engine 5 games, man. They're beginning to look the same. It's
yeah, and it's
like
just
a very
it,
Ubisofty, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Like I
just
like a stylized game. What's that game called where you climb rocks? It was an Unreal Engine 5 game. Jusant. Um,
yeah, just some,
that game
yeah.
looked really cool. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, see, I
It was
like
Unreal
some of
Engine
that
5,
stuff. Yeah, Unreal
and
Engine
the
5.
lighting in it was phenomenal. It looks
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
such a
I
nice
had people,
game. I
people
want a
saying,
game
"Oh, it
like
looks like
that
a PS3 game."
that looks realistic.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
cool. But I also
yeah.
like
And
Toussaint
then
because I like that type.
stylized, yeah, yeah. I think a good style trumps overly realistic graphics, in my
Oh yeah,
personal opinion.
absolutely.
Like I
I mean,
like
I
stylized
turned
games.
I turned on Hellblade 2 the other day to try to look at it on the 7900
Yeah.
XT, and I was like, wow, this doesn't look that good anymore. Oh
Have
my
you
gosh.
have you played with the Nvidia filters at all? There's game like The
I
Witcher supports this, I think. You can change, like you can make things look more stylized. You can even add ray tracing, screen space, ray
see.
traced AO, I think The Witcher 3 supported. It's like an Nvidia overlay thing. If you hit Alt Z or I forget what it's, F2, I don't know, I forget, but it's like a game filter type of thing.
I
I
will.
figured you might like something like that.
I will try that next time I put the 4080 back in. I was thinking about putting it back in today because I still need to do
Yeah.
testing with the monitor, but I don't know. I'm just so comfortable. I'm so happy with the AMD GPUs that
Yeah.
I don't think about it
Yeah,
that
that's
often.
fine. That's fine.
So yeah,
Whatever works,
I
man.
might throw that back in today and keep it in there for a while. I need to, man. I paid like 1,200 bucks for this card. I should at least try to get some money out of it. You know what I mean? I love my AMD
Yeah.
experience. This 4080 has been
Well, do
unable
you
to
have a
change that.
second PC or no?
No, just the one.
You don't have
I've been
just the one?
talking with my wife about doing a second one, and like right now
I
we
thought
just
you
don't.
kept your previous one, the 5900X
Oh
one.
no, I sold that.
Oh, okay.
I had to
Yeah, I
sell
like
that
having two PCs.
to kind of help pay for
Yeah,
some of this stuff.
right,
Because
right.
well, if I didn't get the camera and then upgrade and the 4080 and all of that stuff all at the same time, and then now the monitor, I would have been a little bit different story. But yeah, I don't know. I got a
Yeah,
friend that owns a PC shop, and he usually gives me back half of what I pay for things. So as long as I
Okay.
can get him to him in a certain amount of time, but I feel like I'm
Yeah.
keeping because he doesn't really do anything over like a certain range or whatever. So I'm kind of stuck with my 7900 XT and 4080 Super unless I sell
Right.
them to somebody else. So
Right. Right.
oh, yeah.
Cool.
So well, Tara, thank you for coming on
Yeah.
today, man. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
We
No
should
problem.
definitely do this again. Probably get like a couple more people in, and
Yeah.
to do like some stuff because I kind of want to take the whole PC gaming thing in a different direction instead of creating animosity and any kind of like fanboy content. I want to answer the questions that I don't feel we get answered from the big tech tubers that hype us up. I want to find a way to be able
Yeah.
to answer those small questions, to give people a better understanding of what PC gaming is. And at the same time, I want to work on strengthening my knowledge overall with PC so they can do better at doing that.
Yeah. I mean, you like I said, internet has a lot of knowledge you can learn from. Be it Reddit or YouTube or like the PC gaming community is usually pretty helpful. Like if you run into any issues or you're trying to find out how to mod a game, that's something I want to do a bit more of, like um, get into modding a bit more. I've done a few modding videos, like how to do ultra wide on some games that don't support it, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But that's like a whole other thing that you probably haven't touched yet, modding. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you
I
can
haven't.
transform games and
I have not tried any
there's
of that just
there's
yet.
so much, like, so much you can do,
I kept
like with
telling myself I was
Starfield
gonna.
and Fallout 4 and all these games, you can it's incredible.
I
Um,
mean, I keep telling myself that I'll
yeah.
build a second PC and then I'll start modding, but I might start with something like
You don't have
Starfield and
to
just start getting
yeah,
into it.
yeah, you don't I mean, you don't have to build a second PC for that.
I just
Um
worry about downloading like a virus on my main
Oh, no.
PC.
If you download mods from, like, Nexus Mods, I'm sure you've heard of the website.
Yeah.
Nexus Mods, like, the main modding website. That's all clean, As far as I'm aware, they have, like, virus checks, there's comments, there's everything, Those are safe. I played Fallout 4 with a bunch of mods before. It was so cool. They have this app, it's called Vortex, and you
Okay.
download it, right? And you download the mods you want, and they go straight to that. You don't have to like open up folders or anything like that.
Oh,
And
nice.
then you just launch the game, and there you go. You know what I mean? It's like easy,
Because I
really
bought
easy.
like this whole modding thing for Assetto Corsa Competizione,
Oh
and I
yeah, yeah,
could
yeah.
never even figure
I
out how to get it to work. So I was just like,
I
I don't
tried,
care.
yeah. You know what? I messed around with that too, and I couldn't get it to work right. And I forget, like I didn't have the patience at the time. But
Yeah,
like a
so
set of
I
course, is
just
another one that you can mod the heck out of and
I know,
transform
and
it into a completely different game.
I was hoping to be able to
Yeah,
figure that out because I was like, this will make, but it just takes so much
you would
time
like
to
that,
try to
yeah.
figure it out, and I'm just like, I just don't even
Especially with,
care.
like, the steering wheels and stuff you got,
Oh
like,
yeah, gosh, it's so fun.
that would be so much that's what you should probably try to do, man, and,
I know.
that'd be cool. I gotta
Try
get
to
me a
get
rig set up one of these days.
definitely, man. You can get one
Yeah.
over at you could get one over at like Micro Center, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them. I got that cheap one. Remember the one you got in the very beginning? Was it Thrustmaster TMX?
Thrustmaster.
Whatever the heck
Yeah,
that was?
yeah.
That one's like the spring, the gas pedal spring broke like
Oh
8 months
yeah.
later, I think. I'm like, yeah, this thing sucks. I mean, the wheel is
Yeah.
okay, but yeah, I want to get a direct drive one.
Yeah, get one of them.
So,
I think Micro Center's carrying MOZA. You'd probably be
yeah,
all right with like a MOZA. They have some pretty decent pricing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
from
I'm
what
gonna
I
I'm
can
gonna look into it.
see, their pedals are about equivalent to my Fanatec setup. So
Hmm.
those will be good for you. You could
Yeah,
definitely do pretty good with that.
cool.
So, all right, my friend,
Yeah,
thank you for coming on.
all right,
We'll
man.
definitely be doing this again. This was awesome, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
And you guys can find Terra over on YouTube, Twitter.
yep.
I'll put a link in the description for his channel. And yeah, this is awesome, man. You're doing a great job, Tara. I love your work.
Thanks,
So
thanks. Yeah,
definitely
appreciate it.
have my full support. So
Appreciate it.
All right, brother.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
see
But
you
yeah, thanks,
later.
man. Thanks for having me. I will see you later.